Great leadership in any organization is not a one-way street.
Every person in a company can potentially lead and can potentially change the system.
Everybody listening to this has a role in improving leadership in your organization, regardless of role, experience, whatever it is. We are going to help you fix leadership today.
Trust goes both ways. Effort goes both ways, right? All of those things. Positivity, assuming positive intent, goes both ways.
If you are relentless and you are consistent, you can drive change. You are not helpless.
Imagine a world where you're kicking ass from a predictable, like the world can count on your teams, right? To say what they're going to do it, and deliver it. What would that change in your business dynamics?
It's not rocket
No.
science. It's effort. It's definitely consistent effort, but it's a game changer. And that's what we want everybody to walk away out of today's episode with is, damn it, I have a responsibility in making this better, and I can make it happen.
Entry music. Da, 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 da. It's the Bob and Josh Show.
We got to talk about leadership and the team's responsibility in making it happen.
Oh, I couldn't disagree more, Josh. No, Metacasters. No, I'm with you, Joshua. I think everyone has a leadership responsibility. And teams, I think you're letting your leaders down.
Wow, look at this. Fire episode.
Teams, don't let your leaders down.
Great leadership in any organization is not a one-way street. Yes, there is somebody that is in a role that has some sort of label that's associated with leadership or management or something like that. But that is not the only requirement for a great organization with great leadership. It is a two-way street. And we think, and we're guilty of this as well, that too often teams just sit on the sideline and throw rocks and stones when they could be out in the game helping make things better. So that's what today's episode is about. Everybody listening to this has a role in improving leadership in your organization, regardless of role, experience, whatever it is. We are going to help you fix leadership today. And it's on you, people. It's on you.
I'm going to jump in right on this one, Josh. The rocks and stones. I see that pattern all the time. I see that pattern with agile coaches. I see that pattern with teams. I see that pattern with project managers. I see that pattern with all these roles. I teach a leadership workshop. I teach a leadership workshop, and people come to explore leadership. And when I talk about their problems, you're like, well, we could be an agile leader if only they. And they look up to the ceiling, right? And it's like, right, I look up to the ceiling. Is there something up there? Is there a spider up there? But what? And it's this sort of insatiable desire to blame someone else rather than to take accountability to the part you play in leadership. Uh, One thing I think it is, one driving force, there's all these driving forces, but I think one driving force is, you know what? This, I think teams or whoever's looking up, they, they're afraid of being a leader. It's easy to say, well, it's Josh's job. Josh should be having a hard conversation with the CEO. Josh needs to defend. Man, our whip is excessive and they're pushing us around. Oh, if only Josh would do his job. Well, guess what? Right? You could do that as well, or you could participate in that. And that's fear. It's not for the fearful. I mean, you have to be courageous. What's that quote? I think it's a Vince Lombardi quote, Josh, of, it's easy to be on the sidelines and critique, but there's something about getting into the field and leaving it all in the field. That's for those unique people that actually they're not jabberwockies, they're participants, and they're getting into the field and they're playing the game. And I think that's maybe what I'm suggesting. Josh, I just rambled a bunch. Anything
Well, first things
discernible there?
First things first. If you had Jabberwocky in your Metacast episode bingo card, you just won, because that is the one in a million.
I don't think I've ever said that before
often
in a Metacast, and it probably won't be said again.
That one came out of nowhere and shocked the heck out of me. Yeah, so I think of the new common poem. I think it's titled "The Man in the Arena,"
Yeah,
and Tom Brady made it popular,
yeah.
things like that, where it talks about in the arena, that's where pain, suffering, difficult decisions live. And it is easy to be in the stands, to be in the upper deck, telling Tom Brady, or pick your favorite or least favorite quarterback, telling them what they should and shouldn't be doing and how they got it wrong. It is easy. There's no risk. Nothing bad can happen. Maybe your neighbor next to you is going to look at you and say, "Well, this guy's an idiot," but it really doesn't matter. The thing is, I was listening to Bob. One of the biggest hurdles that I'm going to challenge everybody listening to this episode is you are not helpless. And that's really a key thing that we want to make sure is you have the capability. It might take a lot of chops to chop that tree down. But if you are relentless and you are consistent, you can drive change. You are not helpless. One of my least favorite quotes that I hear consistently that I have an immediate reaction to is, "That's above my pay grade."
Oh, yeah.
That is a cheap, easy cop out. That is strictly saying, "Oh, I can't do anything. I'm just going to sit here and complain." Okay, so maybe you don't have the authority to quickly drive change. That doesn't mean you don't have the capability to drive change. So that is where I think many people struggle is there's a difference between authority and capability. Everybody has capability. Everybody does. You can drive change. It takes effort. It takes stick to itiveness. It takes a lot of different things, but it can be done.
I think you get your butt to the point in the arena. I love that metaphor, and that's the one I was referring to. Josh, you captured that.
Mm,
But it's that arena thing. It's easy to be on the sidelines, and teams that are slamming leaders. Oh, they're not doing their job. They're not setting the table for me perfectly. They're not providing priority. Oh, they're allowing business pressure to cascade down to me. I mean, all of that is wrong, right? I'm not supporting that as leadership best practice. But at the same time, what are you doing about it? You're in the stands. Your leader is in the freaking arena, right? And they may be struggling. They may be it's like what Metacasters, if you remember, they may be in this sumo effort where I sumo challenged Josh, right? So they in my infinite stupidity, I was like, let's get sumo outfits. And if you know, we look equivalent here in the recording, but Josh is much bigger, much stronger, much heavier than I am, and he would have knocked the crap out of me, right? But at least I would have been, if I'm out there in the arena bucking up with Josh. I mean, I'm there. I'm trying, and it's fearful, but it's get out there, and that's the thing. And it's a system. What you don't realize, it's not just even your capabilities. The fact you're part of your organizational system. Every person in a company can potentially lead and can potentially change the system. Now, what you're doing in a hierarchical organization is you're looking up and you're saying there's 10,000 people in a company, and maybe there's 200 leaders or senior leaders or whatever, and everyone is looking to those 200 brains to solve world hunger. Well, I would argue that's a stupid mindset for everyone. Now, I know they get paid more, they have hierarchy, they have titles, etc. But get in the arena. Team members, you have a responsibility to get into the arena. Like I used to say when I was at Eye Contact, to leaders who were distrusting their team, I would say, trust your teams. Now that I'm thinking about it, I didn't say it enough to teams. It's like, trust your leaders, right? Everyone is like pitching darts at the leaders, right? Maybe sometimes, you know what they're talking about is the best decision. So trust goes both ways. Effort goes both ways, right? All of those things. Positivity, assuming positive intent, goes both ways. I'm getting tired. What I hear is everyone wants it coming down towards me, and they're not willing to reciprocate. And that's and reciprocate in effort, reciprocate in getting into the field.
I agree with everything you're saying. What I want to try and get into now is we've been saying this is what you should do. You should be doing this. You need to change the way. Let's get into the actual how. This is how you make that happen. So let's play it back to where Bob was talking about. You were on a team, you aren't getting the direction, you aren't getting the clarity, you aren't getting the context, and you're just sitting and waiting. That's problem number one. Don't sit and wait. What you need to do is have a conversation with whoever that leader is and say, hey, we as a team are really struggling. We could use additional information that looks like this, feels like this. Can you help make that happen? Is there anything I can do to help make that happen? Those are the conversations that you need to go boldly have and say, we can do better. And to me, that is the way to frame it is, hey, we can do better. We want to do better. We need these handful of things. How do we make that happen? What can I do to help make that happen? As opposed to sitting there waiting, going to lunch with your buddies and complaining about the boss not doing their job, because you know what, that doesn't make life better at all. It doesn't help anything. So what can you do? How do you start that change? How do you drive that change? And just a simple conversation is all it needs, because having been in leadership roles, and oftentimes leadership roles are overloaded and are asked to do way too many different things, and therefore time isn't being allocated, or maybe they aren't getting the clarity and context that they need to be able to do their role effectively to be able to support you. So maybe you can create success up the chain by starting the conversation at your level and then showing that leader, hey, this is how I can engage more effectively. Maybe that leader's going to say this thing, well, man, maybe I need to have that conversation with my boss because I'm kind of feeling the same way. Let me go figure that out and I'll get back to you and then we'll rally around this and we'll make it happen. That is tide turned. That is game changer. There's no risk there. There's no like you're going to lose your job. None of that is there. You're just simply saying, hey, I want to do better. We can do better. And here's the thing that's slowing us down. How can I help? What can I do? That's a game changer. And it's simple.
I think another thing that complements that, Josh, and maybe it's before it even in time, is stop looking at the world. I think part of the trap in teams is they look at the world myopically. Like our job, the silos sort of the silos are these clouds that remain in our thinking. So my job as a developer is to write code, or maybe to do some testing, or maybe to do something else. But I'm here. My leader's job is to understand the marketplace, to understand strategy, to understand where we need to be going. So it's them, me, and then them. And I would say every team member has a responsibility to look at the world broadly. What's your customer base like? What's your revenue stream like? Is your revenue building or declining? What can you do about it? How are sales going? What's the customer support queue like? How many bugs after release are hosing your customers? What are you doing about it to resolve those bugs? Over time, so you need to everyone needs to take the blinders off. Why I'm saying that is a big part of why leaders may look pointy headed is because they're looking, they're trying to look at this broad landscape. That's why they're making decisions. They're even looking at the skill of the team. It's like, well, we can't do that because we don't have the skill. And the team isn't even aware that they have a skill disconnect, right? Well, get aware of it. Beyond that, then do something about it, right? You do something about it, like cross train whatever it is. So I think there's this start. I would say I still have this metaphor, Josh, of team members need to become mini me product owners. I don't like the view of I'm on a scrum team and the team does the work and the product owner shares the vision and the backlog, right? I want every team member to have a mini me mindset that they have to look at the world in the way and be learning how to look at the world in the way of the product owner. Well, then let's take that up in steroids. Uh, you need to look at the world through the eyes of the leader. Imagine that. Imagine the partnership you create there. Imagine the synergy you create there. Imagine the shit you can suggest to get done because you have a different insight than the leaders do, and to boldly and get into the arena with that. And for those that say I don't have the time with that, I'm going to say bullshit. Right? That's actually your job. You want to be you want to create a vibrant company. Guess what? Agile teams do that. They did that 20 years ago and 25 years ago. They had a broad, yes, they had a narrow lens. I do this, but they had a broad lens too of what do we need to do to kick ass in the marketplace, and what do we need to do to create a vibrant company. So I would say take that on your, that's your responsibility.
Yeah, that's a common challenge that I run into when I'm coaching companies. It's been pretty consistent for the past 7 or 8 years where teams are in this output mindset. And the way I usually try and pull people out of that is I ask the question. And the question is, why are we here? What is our responsibility within the company? What are we here to do? And developers will raise their hand and say, we're here to fix bugs, we're here to build features, we're here to do this, we're here to do that. And that's the output thinking. That's, hey, I did a thing. Yes, I can check off I fixed a bug. But what we're here to do is we are here to deliver value to our customers. So that resets the thinking to the outcome. What is the outcome? What is the change we're trying to create for the users that are giving us their money? For the users that are deciding, hey, this money that I have, I'm going to give you some of it because you make my life easier. So, everybody listening to this right now, ask that question of yourself. Your role in the company, what are you there to do? And if you're in the unfortunate situation where your answer is fix bugs, build features, update spreadsheets, do this, do that, take a step back. Try and understand the greater picture of what your company is delivering to its customers. And that's your responsibility. Your responsibility is to enable that.
Yep.
And then start thinking about how can we as a team do more of that, do better with that. So hit the pause button, think about that. If you don't, if you aren't there, that's okay. That's not uncommon. That's unfortunately the norm, but that's what Bob and I are trying to hear, what we're trying to fix.
Um,
That's our goal here.
yep.
But it takes effort and energy. It's not going to happen. It's not a light switch, but step 1 is understanding what's the goal? What is the outcome that we are after as a company, as a department, as a team?
Well, there's reciprocal responsibilities. As you were talking, Josh, I was thinking of, like, let's take predictability. And you may disagree with me. I'm going to get the words wrong, but very often, like leaders, I hear from teams like the dysfunction is the leaders are trying to micromanage me. And then I ask the question, well, do you have predict? Can you predict in any way, right? Story points or whatever. Do you have predictable delivery? And the answer is usually no. And they're like, well, we're an autonomous team. We don't have to have, predictable delivery. And I'm part of me is like, no, you do. You have a responsibility, right, to have a tempo to yourselves and to your organization in some way. I don't care how you count it. You don't have to be perfect at it. And so again, there's this, right, leaders, there's a reciprocal responsibilities. Leaders get frustrated. I hear this from them. I gave them space, and a year later we have no more predictability, and the leaders are getting tremendous pressure. And so I hear the teams complain about the leaders. And what I think a root cause is the reciprocal responsibility is, damn it, look yourself in the mirror and figure out a way, not to, kowtow to the leaders, but kowtow to the marketplace, kowtow to your customers, kowtow to delivering value, or not kowtow, but that's the responsibility that you have. It's, you have a fundamental responsibility to stand and deliver, and then do that without being asked. Do that without being told. Just boldly go there, figure that out, and deliver that to the world. So that's sort of, it's not necessarily lead, it's lead within your sphere as well. Like lead in predictability. Imagine a world where you're kicking ass from a predictability. Like the world can count on your teams, right? To say what they're going to do it, and deliver it. How what would that change in your business dynamics?
Yeah, so I have a couple responses. One, update your buzzword bingo with kowtow. If that was on your Metacast episode bingo card, you too are a winner, along with earlier Jabberwocky. So we are on a roll. But the one point that I have, and I make this often to teams that are frustrated about trying to create predictability or they're being asked to deliver on some sort of time frame, put the shoe on the other foot.
Yeah.
Let's say you take your car in to get serviced. You want to have a general idea of when it's going to be done. You need to like plan your day. Maybe you need to get a ride. Maybe you need a loaner car. If you were to drop it off in the dealership or the shop, it's just like, I don't know. Just trust us. We'll get it to you when you're done. You're not going to be okay with that. Or if you were to build a house or something like that, anything where you are making a large purchase or you are investing time and giving up a piece of your daily life, you're expecting that you're going to have, it doesn't need to be perfect. You're not looking for by the minute, but you're looking for, yeah, it's going to be a couple hours. Okay, cool. I can plan around that. Here's what I'm going to do. As opposed to, hey, just hang out and we'll let you know. Maybe it'll be later today. Maybe it'll be next week. Or maybe we'll tell you it's later today and then we'll come back and tell you, actually, it's not later today. It's going to be like 4 weeks from now. And then you have to rearrange everything. So put the shoe on the other foot because there are lots of shoes that are out there that are waiting, that are trying to get the thing that you're working on building. So understand the weight and responsibility you have as a producer in your organization to make that a reality.
You know, I had a Google Fiber upgrade today, Josh, and the guy came into my house and he said this is going to take between an hour and 10 minutes. And you know, and he introduced himself and he talked through what he was going to do. Um, and then and there was a part I played it. I had to be available to do checkpoints along the way and give him data and things and you know, activate an app and things. And it was funny. He started accelerating beyond, and he's like, you know, it's only going to take me 15 more minutes. And I had a lot of stuff going on. Diane was going out with friends, and I was trying to get her ready to get into a car and things, and so there were some challenges. And I really appreciate it, and the timing was working out. And then when he finally wrapped up, he said, and it took me 37 minutes, just to let you know. And I was like, wow, this guy was really paying attention, and he was sharing with his client. He was managing my expectations, and it was helpful. And it was a helpful. And he didn't cry, he didn't whine, he didn't roll his eyes at me or anything like that. It was just managing customers. So I thought I'd share that. Uh, and then he asked, they're going to send you a form and you're going to evaluate me. And I'm like, you did a fantastic job. Forget your work. You did a fantastic job of communicating with your stakeholders. And that in and of itself, yes, and yes, yes, the network is working, but that was the cherry on top as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, the most enjoyable experience, enjoyable is the wrong word. The most appreciative experience that I've had with some sort of home situation like that is we had our air conditioning go out in the summer here in North Carolina. And I reached out to a company, and when they responded, when I agreed to sign up with them, I got an email and it detailed out these are the 7 steps that happen. Here's where you are. This is what's happening next. Now, I can't tell you whether they were the best HVAC installers in the universe or not. Yes, at the end of the day, just like Bob said with his internet, it works. My AC was back on. But I recommended that company because I had clarity on what was happening, where I was in the process. I understood what was going on. Something went sideways. But you know what? They were out front of it and they said, okay, cool. So we had an issue with ordering this part. It's delayed. It's probably going to be another couple of days. But that transparency changed everything. I understood what was happening. I knew what to expect. Are you creating that same experience for your customers? Unfortunately, too many teams do not.
Yep.
And that's what we're saying you have a responsibility to do. It's not easy, but you know what? If you listen to half the episodes we've ever created, or you read Bob's blog or my blog, our newsletters, you're going to get all the answers you need to make that happen. It's not rocket
Nope.
science. It's effort. It's definitely consistent effort, but it's a game changer. And that's what we want everybody to walk away out of today's episode with is, damn it, I have a responsibility in making this better and I can make it happen.
Well, let's. I want to double down. I've been watching too many
Ooh.
political. I want to triple down on this just to make the point. Right? We're complaining about a leader. There's a micromanaging leader. We were talking systemically. Let's look at root causes. Maybe they're evil. Okay. Put that off to the side. But that there's not transparency. If the team changes their behavior, they can change the entire system, right? And then that leader could have time because they're not worrying about micromanaging the team, maybe to partake in visioning or maybe to partake in sort of, providing mentoring to team members, etc. What just happened? You affected by being responsible in areas, by being a leader, by getting into the broad field, right? You change the system. So it's not this like them and us. It's not linear. It's not this, they suck or they don't suck. They're good or they're bad. It's much more complex than that. And that's good news because you have the power. Your behavior, not, too many teams are just stubborn. Oh, it's not agile to do that. Or they're arguing, oh, we don't want to measure that. Or, sort of, well, we're going to do flow. But then there's predictability metrics are there. No, just do your job and lead in those areas of responsibility. And I think you'd be amazed at the changes that you can affect in the system, in the organizational system.
Yeah, that's the last thing that I want to leave people with. I want to leave folks with inspiration that you can make massive differences. You can be that little butterfly that flaps its wings that causes a hurricane on the other side of the world by just jumping out, getting there, putting yourself in there, driving change, asking how I can help, working with your team to make that happen. It can happen. It doesn't take some massive bulldozing machine to move this mountain. You can start the chain reaction.
I'm Josh. Did you notice my eyes got all? This is the butterfly episode. I love that metaphor. This is the Metacast butterfly episode. So damn it, Metacasters, flap those wings. Flap them hard. Stop whining. Stop sitting on a branch. Flap those wings. All right. So, so from beautiful downtown Cary, North Carolina,
And beautiful downtown Fuquay Varina, North Carolina.
I'm Bob Galen.
And I'm Josh Anderson.
Flap them, butterflies. Flap them. Here you go. Shake
Shake and
and bake.
bake. Oh man, he caught me off guard on that one, folks.
Uh,